Alright, Mike, what are we doing down here today?
Well, today we're going to put the valve train in, or torque the head on first, and then we'll put the valve train in. And I'll go through the valves and show you how to adjust them. Most people seem to have a lot of trouble doing that, so it's not too hard, but we'll...
Well, I have no idea, so I'm bound to learn something.
It's not too bad when you can see it happen. It makes it a lot easier to see it.
Alright, so what are we going to start with?
Okay, well, as you can see, I've got the rest of the engine pretty much buttoned up and one head on. So, but first I'm going to start off with the lifters. Just like the camshaft, it's going to need some lubrication on it. The Moly lube is real good. If you have any kind of flat tappet cam, we'll use a paste or whatever the cam manufacturer recommends. But if you have a roller type lifter, you don't want to use this paste on it. You want to wash that wheel good and those bearings in maybe clean solvent or brake cleaner or something, blow them dry, and then soak them good in oil. And work.
But with the flat tappet, you want to
right,
get...
with the flat tappet, you can just use this lubricate, this brake-in lube. But it doesn't take very much. You want to just put it on the face of the lifter, and not so much on the sides. You can put a little bit on there, it's fine. But if you put too much here, it'll get up in this cavity, and it may plug a lifter up and make it tap for a while after you start it.
Okay.
So you just put a little bit, pretty good dab on there, cover it good, and of course some will get out here, and that's fine.
Okay.
You just slide it right in there.
Yeah.
Try to coat it all over good.
Now, previously you also coated the cam, didn't you?
Yes, exactly. You can put too much on it, but you know it's on. You know.
Well, I think I'd rather go on the side of too much lubrication than not enough.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, because we'll change the oil after the first half hour of running it. After we get the cam broke in, we'll change the oil and get all of that assembly lube out of there, or most of it, and get it out of the filter, and we'll put fresh oil in it and a filter, and then we'll run it some more. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, I got that, the lifters in, and got the deck dried off nice and clean. So you want to look for any damage. Of course, I've already checked for stripped threads, and everything's fine. So we'll get the head gasket out, and we'll put that bad boy on there. Now there's a lot of ways to put gaskets on, and sometimes there's wrong ways. If there's a front or rear or top or bottom on a gasket, it'll have stamped on it somewhere, like it'll say front or top. Sometimes they'll say bottom or rear, but you want to look real good and make sure that that's not the case. On small block Chevys, I don't think it matters. I think the Fords, small block Fords, have a front and a rear. If you put them on backwards, you'll be doing it again. Because it blocks off a water port on one head, not on the other.
And you probably wouldn't know till it was too late.
Right. No, I found that the hard way.
Yeah, that would be very bad.
And there's some controversy too about, even though these do not have a top or bottom or front or back, there is a difference in how it's made. You can see how that armor shield is when you flip it over. See the difference in it? And some people believe this should go up. Some people believe this should go up. So
now, are you telling me that there's not a right answer for that?
Apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Felpro says it doesn't matter.
Really?
So it probably doesn't, but...
Because if you ask 100 mechanics, they would all give you a different...
101 answers.
101 answers, yeah.
I put this up. I don't know why. I've just always done it that way.
Okay, so you don't even know why.
Right, exactly. I would think they'd be the same on both sides, but that's just me. So we'll line on our dowel pins here. Snap them on. You want to check and make sure all the holes line up. Which looks good, and you want to make sure that the gasket doesn't hang in the cylinder. If you happen to get the wrong gasket and this gasket hangs inside the cylinder, then it won't last very long. You'll be doing it again.
Yeah.
So that all looks pretty good. Okay.
But I noticed that you didn't put on no gasket goo.
No, clean and dry.
I like that.
Some guys will put copper coat or aluminum paint, different things,
Right.
putty or whatever. But no, they're clean and dry. That's the best way to do
I
it.
think so. A machine surface.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so we've got our head ready here. Make sure it's dry, clean, no rocks or anything.
Excuse me. Boy, that sure is pretty.
It's a shame to cover it up. Okay, we got our head on. Now we're gonna.
It's Friday night and I got me a date right here.
Yep. So we put our head bolts in next. Now heads, I should have showed you that before I put the head on. Some head bolts run into water.
Mm-hmm.
Some don't. If they do run into water, you have to use sealer on them. You can take. I should have done this for I put the head on, but I know. But to make sure they do go underwater if you put it through a head bolt hole. You know, obviously it goes all the way into water.
Really?
But if it's a blind hole and it does not go into water, you know, it'll stop. And then you can feel a bottom to the bolt hole. In that case, you can just use oil, or if you're using an aftermarket bolt or stud that requires some special lubricant or something, you go by that.
Really?
Just on plain everyday stuff. If it's a blind hole, I'll just use like 1040 oil.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's open into water, I'll use the sealant on them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because water will seep up past that bolt and either out or up past this bolt and into the engine. It
Oh.
needs to be sealed. It's like a pipe thread kind of. I use stuff called high tack. It doesn't take a lot. Just want to
I don't think I knew that one.
coat the threads.
Is that common procedure?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? I didn't see how many. I'm glad I'm not a mechanic. I would have messed that one right up.
Yeah, some guys use Teflon.
You know, and I've
Based
put
on-
heads on before. I don't think I've ever done that.
Really?
Yeah, you're scaring me now. I was like, oh, well, this bolt goes from this hole.
Well, any bolt that runs, head bolt that runs in.
Okay, so what would I have done to those heads that I just kind of screwed that bolt on there? I just messed them all up at some point. No,
if it didn't leak,
they didn't leak.
nothing.
But you know when you said how water kind of forced up around it?
Mhm.
There was one, I remember one time that I couldn't figure out why water was coming out of that hole, and it eventually just kind of like rusted up and stopped.
Yeah. Stop leak.
It stopped its own self.
Well, that's probably what it was.
I'll be darned. I did not know that.
Yeah, they use this at the factory too.
Do they?
It's a little different.
See there?
than what I use,
That's
but
that's the second thing I've learned today.
it's 2 for 2.
2 for 2.
This
And you're
stuff
doing a
is
little
tricky.
twisty thing here. You get because there's little
Strings.
little string. Very good. I like that. I see that.
Still doing it.
I mean, that's years experience right there.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll drop the bolt in there, but I don't do that anymore either.
So is it more of just a water protectant than a seal, or is it?
It's a sealant.
It's actually a sealant, ain't it?
And it's a lubricant too. It helps overcome some of the friction. Friction is the biggest problem with torquing stuff,
Oh, I know.
because you have to overcome all the friction to get it to the right. And then a lot of the newer engines are using torque to yield head bolts. You know, like the old head bolts were 65 pounds or
Mm-hmm.
90 or whatever. A lot of them are like 40 pounds and a half a turn.
Really?
Yeah, and the bolts actually stretch. That's why they're called torque to yield. They'll stretch them till they're just short of braking, and that's where how they figure the torque and then the angle. But and they work fine. But the problem is you can't reuse them.
They're stretched out.
They're stretched to almost to their maximum. So you have to buy new bolts. And almost all the newer engines has torque to yield
Ain't that
head bolts,
convenient?
and now their rod bolts are that way.
Really?
Main bolts, damper bolt. So
And
you
see,
spend $200 on bolts.
That's convenient right there.
Sounds real economical.
Yeah.
But I do what I have to do, so we'll run these down. Let's see. And I'm going to go back to the pattern I used when I put the torque plates in. Some of that sealer's dried in there. Just snug them up.
Mike, it's really starting to look like a motor now, man.
Looking good.
Yeah, it is.
Billy Ray.
I'm saying, I mean, look at this. God. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it when it gets to this.
Oh, yeah?
I like it better when I hear it run, too.
Yeah, I start dreaming about it at this point here. Though. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I also get nervous, too.
Is this a nervous part?
When they run, yeah.
I mean, like right now, it's all coming together, and it's.
It can be. Like what I call everyday normal stuff, you know, like this is nothing exotic. There's usually not any big trauma to deal with.
Right.
But you know, when you start getting a lot of aftermarket parts and
I can imagine.
it's just, you have to just check everything. Clearances, and a lot of times stuff don't fit just right.
Exactly.
You have to take it apart and work on it, which I don't understand. You think they'd make it right when they made
The
it.
first time.
Where you get instructions in the book, it says, head may require relief grinding here. It's like, well, why don't you do it when you
Why
make
didn't you
it,
do that
know?
when you made it? It would have been a little bit easier for us all.
Oh well, what do I know? Okay, now we're going to go to 40 foot-pounds and then 65.
Really? So there's like a tiered
Two-step.
torquing.
Yeah, I like
to
to
it.
pull them down it gradually, you know, instead of going.
Because you're
just-
stretching it.
Well, these aren't too much as bad as stretch to yield, but
Right.
but they do stretch a little bit. Actually, a bolt is like a big spring. You know, you stretch it, and that tension keeps it pulled down. So.
And that head torques a little bit too, doesn't it?
We got everything twisted up. So we'll go 40 to start with. I like the clip torque wrench.
And he says, put in that dial indicator one I used to use.
The old beam.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're okay, but they're kinda,
I've still got
yeah,
one. They're just not
I do
accurate.
too. There's 40. And then we'll go to 65. Same pattern.
Sending it home, as it were.
Yep. You want to pull slowly, click wrench, so you get a true reading. In fact, I kind of ease up when I feel it getting close. And if you jerk on it and it clicks, you know, you'll pull it
Too far.
too far.
Done it before. Yeah. Yeah, so you would have already seen it's the pattern I would have forgot already.
I usually count them in my head too, but
Do you?
I also have another way I double check myself. I'll show you a second. Okay, I got them all to 65 in the pattern. I'm going to go back and go down in a line
Okay.
and double check.
To make
Make
sure
sure I
everything
got-
is at weight.
Make sure I didn't miss one. Sometimes I'll tighten up even a little bit more. The gasket kind of relaxes, I think.
After the weight's been put on it for a second, it expands a little bit.
There you go. The head's on.
It's on?
It's on.
It's on? Oh my goodness.
Now I'm going to put the screw-in rocker studs in here. And they also go into water. Well, actually 8 of them, or 4 of them do, but the other 4 go into the intake port here. So they'll need to be sealed up.
So they literally go right in that water jacket, don't they?
Yeah, the exhaust, just water right there. Yeah.
Ah,
So I'm going to put some sealer on them also.
that would make sense.
I put a little washer under these studs. Sometimes you can use guide plates for the higher end stuff, but we're not using them on this. But this kind of takes the place of the guide plate, and it keeps that radius from bottoming out to top of the threads. So we'll put these on there, torque them down.
Now I've heard that all the head bolts have to go back in where they came from. See there?
Not especially, but other than there's 3 different lengths of head bolts in this particular engine.
Yeah, but you know that mechanics have always said, they always tell me, oh, you gotta put the head bolt right back in where it came from.
No.
That's not true?
Not at all.
It's wise tale?
Pretty much.
Oh God, there's 3 things.
Yeah.
So you don't have to put the bolt back in?
No, in the
God.
right position.
See,
Sorry,
I
man.
believe I believe that one. All right.
Yeah, you do, Ray. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good.
So next time you do one,
Yeah, I'll put it right back in the exact
mark
same
each
hole.
one.
I have done that. God, now I'm sad.
Well, it didn't hurt anything.
It didn't hurt nothing. No.
Better safe than sorry, huh?
Yeah.
Even though some engines have head bolts that have like a stud on top of them.
Mm-hmm. I've
Some
seen
kinda
that.
Weird. you
Yeah,
know.
I've seen that.
Yeah. In that case, yeah, you have to put it back, I guess, in that position.
I think it just comes from me. Whenever I do stuff like this, man, I put little tags on each
Yeah.
bolt and
Well, it don't
stuff.
hurt anything.
Yeah, well,
And if you don't do it all the time, you don't know.
no, I'm yeah.
I'd rather make notes or take
Mhm.
pictures ahead of time than try to, well, you know, did I get that
I
right?
had to
or-
put a head on an old Tempo once, and you'd have thought it was. Yeah, I know it's a bad car.
Hmm.
I owned one too.
Did you?
Yeah, it was junk, man.
And the phone start ringing.
And the yeah, I love Tempos.
My grandma had it.
My grandma had a Tempo, and it was wonderful. Well, I owned it, and I drove it.
Yeah. I got my license in the Tempo.
Exactly. I put some miles on an old Tempo too. I'd put a head on it.
Was it an aluminum head?
It sure was.
Yeah, I welded a million of those things.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I always heard you couldn't weld them.
Aluminum, yeah.
Yeah.
Cast iron's a different story, though. That's a whole different animal.
Whole different animal, huh?
Okay.
And there's a torque rating. Now,
Yeah, I'll
would
torque
you
these.
start from the center and work out?
On these, it's not. You don't have to.
You don't have to worry about
You
it?
don't have to worry about that. I'll torque these.
Because you're not actually putting any stress on the block with these.
Right. I'm not dealing with the gasket surface or.
Right. All right.
Plus, you know, when I honed this block, I went in a specific pattern, and when I untorqued the torque plate, I did it in reverse order, so that I could
Just so it's
repeat,
stretched.
you know,
Exactly.
Could twist it the same
way.
every time. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Some people even put a torque plate on the head when they do a valve job on them,
Really.
but that's getting up there.
Well, you know.
Well,
Hey.
if you want to pay for it.
That's right.
So we'll torque these to 55. I'll just start at the end on these. I'm always afraid one's going to break or strip out.
That'll be a bad time for that, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I jam my elbow into that bench. I wouldn't be happy.
No. Ooh, that would hurt, Tim.
Yeah. Hit my not so funny bone.
Mm-hmm.
See, there's one bolt there. I had to put a helicoil in. It was stripped out.
Really?
I always check on that stuff. Nothing I hate worse than trying to put something on the bolt hole strip.
I know.
Cylinder
Okay,
Head
we
and
got our
Block
rockers
Service
on
has
there.
been providing quality
Rocker
machine
studs.
work since 1980. Located at
So what are we gonna do
412
next?
Now we're gonna
Street
put
in
the push
Brookville,
rods and
Ohio.
rockers on.
Whether it's a numbers
Well, we're gonna
matching
do that after
restoration,
the break.
muscle
Okay.
car, street rod,
So,
or
what is it
everyday
after the break?
vehicle,
Push
we can
rods and
build
rockers?
your engine
valve
the way
adjustment.
you want it built. So when you're ready to tackle your next engine project, call Cylinder Head and Block Service 937-833-5557, where quality is standard.